Welcome to the spot. It's time to ignite. Oh yeah. Operation Hangout. The feeling's just right. Chilling with the crew. We're ready to groove. Opinions flying high. Come on, let's move. Hang out all night long, all night. Laughing and debating, playing our song. Oh yeah. Share your thoughts, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Operation Hangout, let's reach for the sky. Let's fly. Pull up a chair, let's get in the zone. Voices blending smooth like a funky trombone. Oh yeah. Topics from the heart, making us think. With a twist and a shout, raise up your drink. Cheers. Hang out all night long, all night. Laughing and debating, playing our song. Oh yeah. Share your thoughts, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Operation Hangout, let's reach for the sky. Let's fly. Bring it down, shake it up, feel the beat. With every word we share, the circle's complete. Living loud, thinking proud, that's what we do. Oh yeah. Join the club, come on through, we're waiting for you. Alright. Hang out all night long, all night. Laughing and debating, playing our song. Oh yeah. Share your thoughts, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Operation Hangout, let's reach for the sky. Let's fly. Hang out.
What is going on, everybody? We're back at it with another exciting episode on this show, on this channel, the Spartan Institute Network. This is Operation Hangout. So let's get my guy in here because he's jumping. He caused an earthquake in New York. And of course, I am talking about my man, Little Groot. What's up, buddy? David, you're muted, buddy. I can't hear you. You're muted, my man. Nothing. And you're supposed to be in IT.
No, technically, I wouldn't mute it. The setting got, which I don't know either. First and foremost, I don't cause earthquakes. Second of all, that is located in Texas. I like to lay down that hammer if necessary. As long as I enjoy my total blackout and I'm not a single thing afterward, that'll be fine. Other than that, I'm not even close to. I'm under 300 pounds. How would I cause earthquake? Make it make sense.
Oh, nothing makes sense in this world, you know that. But
I know we're in a country of delusion.
Good point. But there's a topic that it was your idea to do: bad trilogy with good trilogy. Remember?
Bad trilogy. Oh yeah, this is one of those topics whereby I thought me and Wally would tear a new one or a couple of them. Since we are so animal about dissecting what could be a bad trilogy, what could be a good trilogy. Because let's face it, guys.
All right, I'll put
The
you on.
American movie industry sucks real bad on multiple levels. They lack creativity. They lack ingenuity. They don't try to produce something good. If they produce one good movie, but don't have enough material to do 2 or 3 more movies, they will force their way to create a trilogy that actually sucks real bad. And that is very bad about it. And that's the thing about it. And I've watched so much movie throughout the 80s to now. And I talked to critics, I was like, I don't know. Was it worth it? Should you have a trilogy? Do you have enough material? Some you can tell they're stretching it. And you're like, oh God, no, no. Now there's others that were done great trilogy. Perfect example, Lord of the Rings. They have more than enough material for a trilogy. Question is, can they even get that close in detail? Trying to find out they have so much more. It's only a matter of what can the producer do with it, because you don't want to destroy the franchise. You want to do it justice, but at the same time, you want to bore out your audience. So that's another thing you got to look at. There's some movies where before they do a trilogy, they take I don't know, each movie 10 years. Like you gotta wait that long to complete the trilogy. Oh, something is wrong with that. Then what if you didn't have the material? Why go to that process to make 2 more movies when you don't have it? That is my pet peeve. If you produce something and you don't have enough to go along with it, leave it under 1 movie. Period. If you can get enough for the 2, stick with 2. Do not, I repeat, do not try to force it to 3 movies, because when you do such a thing, it's kind of like I'm asking, are you did it so you can brainwash, or I don't know how you would say, bamboozle your audience? I heard you should be afraid. You come to the theater and you got so mad, but you can't get your money back for a bad movie. I'm just asking. But it's safe to be allowed to criticize them, yes or no. But that is my thought and monologue, because believe me, whew. There's
All right,
too many.
let's get the next guy in here, bro. Let's get him in here. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our president. Mr. President, how are we doing tonight?
Pretty good, pretty good. Just had an awesome meal, so I'm just hopefully I don't fall asleep on you guys.
What kind of meal was it?
Pasta. So I had 2 types of pasta. I had garlic shrimp, garlic butter shrimp over pasta, and then I had spaghetti and meatballs. You know, so I was like round 2. So I could have did one or the other. I had to have both. So
You know what, guys? I have an idea, because I am a chef. You guys know that. We should have a Sunday family dinner, and all of us have food together. I nominate Paul's house.
figure.
I have a small apartment. I can't do it in here.
Mhm.
But we're talking about bad trilogy versus good trilogies. The floor is yours, Mr. President.
What's the question?
It's not a question to open. What do you your feelings behind good trilogy movies versus bad trilogy movies?
I don't know how to properly assess that. So are we talking about? I was thinking about it before the show. Okay, how do you rate a bad trilogy versus a good one? Does each movie, are we looking at some sort of score where there's like a cumulative score, and that hang on, let me spit it out. That's first. Second, if there's a 4th movie or beyond, do you take it out of the trilogy category? Especially if that movie comes, I don't know, because they're always trying to rehash something. So it could be like 10 years later, and try to bring it back together. Like Ocean's, I think Ocean's 10 was done in the 60s with like Sammy Davis Jr. and Frank Sinatra and those guys, and then they did like an Ocean's 11, which was supposed to be a trilogy of that, but that was like decades later. So
good example, like Ghostbusters, like they were that the trilogy, Then what? 30 years later, they came out with Ghostbusters. I can't remember what was the third
Golden
one,
Kingdom, so what want to call it.
something like that. And that was I thought it was decent, but Ice Age I thought was horrible. But they also tried to reboot that was like garbage.
Mhm.
So that is a tricky one that we're going to break down today. This is the point
Right.
of this conversation.
Right.
So, are we talking about trilogies with the reboots or without the reboots? What do you guys think?
I'm saying basically the trilogy should be closed. That if you visit, or there has to be in a sufficient amount of time. Now, again, if you want to do a reboot or restart or pick up a story later on, but there has to be, like, for example, like Star Wars, right? I mean, obviously you've had the prequel trilogies, you had the main trilogy, and then you had the post trilogy. So I wouldn't look at all the Star Wars movies in one, but then again, there was so much time, right? There was like 20 years, almost 20 years between the first and second trilogy.
Exactly.
And then after the other one, there was again another 20 years. So again, so there has to be a sufficient amount of time to, again, for people to look at that body of work and then close it out before you introduce another film. So again, I think that has to be a criteria for it. But if after the third movie in next year you have a fourth, then to me it's not a trilogy. Then that's a series. That's like James Bond. So James Bond could never be a trilogy because obviously, like for a while, there was like especially early in the 60s and 70s, it was like every year they were coming out with a James Bond movie. So you couldn't. So that can never.
That is a
and there's
valid point.
Good point.
So-
now
that being said, hang on, but I right, because I would say, yeah, like I was gonna say something, and then because I remember like when the James Bond got re-released with Daniel Craig, the first three, like the story, like if they would have closed it then with those three movies, then that could have closed it. But again, they kept adding on to it, and so that to me, but again, I thought that if they could have closed it there and then maybe went to another, because remember, even with Bond films, you might have did like maybe 4-5 Bond movies, and then it was out, and they wrote another set of films. But yeah, I think that has to be a part of the equation. You have to look at the trilogy as a closed loop, and you can start something new, but you can't go back and revisit what was closed.
Yeah,
I think I'm having a debate with Eric right now because Eric trying to tell me I'm being unfair. When I mentioned Lord of the Rings, he said that's a bit unfair bar to set. That he brought in Raider of the Lost Ark, Emperor of Doom, and The Last Crusade, the perfect 80 trilogy, even though there were more movies. I'm like,
in a way, David, I got to give him credit when he's due. He is right because the Lord of the Rings were books, solid books that did extremely well when they made it into the movie trilogy. So you can't really say they were good or bad because they already had the material established in their hands. Now, I know Paul's going to get all freaked out now because this is his pet peeve. You cannot take a book into the movie and make it the same. Because if I say that,
wow,
that's blasphemy in Paul's eyes. Am I right or wrong?
Okay.
No, the blasphemy is having expectations from another medium that's unrealistic. That's my peeve. So
Yeah,
again,
and
treat the
having
books
hair.
as the books, treat the movie as the movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
And having a picture with you having hair.
I'm gonna enjoy the debate with Eric because see everyone put me in my no, not too much. I tried this bar. Okay.
So let me play this first video because this is goes a little bit of the Star Wars thing we were talking about. So let's get that out first because
What if someone else beside you came to you and said, I want to make episode 7? Could you see that happening?
No.
This is George Lucas in 2005 explaining why there should never be an episode 7.
No, absolutely, positively, you're really closing the door without any wiggle room whatsoever.
Right. There is no episode 7.
Even for someone else to come up with.
Well, there's possibility there may be another offshoot movie somewhere about an offshoot character in that world.
But not
But not
episode
about
7.
Luke Skywalker, not about that group of people and that struggle to bring democracy back to the galaxy.
But with that being said, would you rather there be no sequel trilogy or the sequel trilogy that we got from Disney?
So, by that said, this is a monkey wrench in this conversation because he even said it should be no more than after what he did first 6. I know he had other spin-offs wrote in, like the new Jedi Order, stuff like that, but Disney, let's be honest, Disney killed Star Wars. Let's be straight up here, guys.
Let's not remind you that we went in on this topic about the Star Wars franchise and how,
and we're going to revisit that conversation.
we had a battle line based on how to either recoup it, repair it, or bring it back to life. And it kind of like it wasn't a mutual agreement on all ends because we know how bad it was destroyed. And seeing Lucas, when I see his face, see him saying that, I was feeling sorry for the guy. I was like, oh, why you bring him back out here again? He suffered enough. But he have a point. So let's be real. Based on how he created that franchise, it seemed off-footing to make such a episode 7 when it's not going to connect with the main group. If you were to do such a thing, it gotta be from an offshoot of a different universe or a different group of characters that's not connected with the original characters. If I were to put it that way, it's very conflict. It's like you're forcing it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're gonna do such a thing, you might well take a nuke, tape it on the Star Wars franchise, and say after this one, adios, we're not gonna save you again. So you already went to enough damage. Audience, you think I'm wrong? Please let me know in the comment.
I don't want to make this into a Star Wars conversation because we're going to be doing very soon in the next couple weeks a part 2. But this is one thing I want to touch base as a trilogy. Okay, you can kill off a trilogy by making too many movies and making them bad. That is the issue too, if you think about it. Like, good example.
Yeah. I mean, some movies should have ended with the last movie, but then again, finance, Hollywood, or whatever, it's like, they always going back to the well.
That's right.
Where the money is, and so there's always an issue with that because again, people just can't let something live out and have a completed chapter and close the book.
AKA Spider-Man.
Opening it.
Spider-Man's a tricky one because it's 3 different trilogies. You have to keep that in mind. You have the Tobey Maguire series, you have Amazing Spider-Man that I thought was the best series personally, and then you have the new kid. I can't remember his name, and
yet you had the audacity to bring them all 3 into one movie. Like,
I actually like the idea, to be honest with you, bro.
I think I gotta watch it too.
I did too. I love that. I love that movie. That's one of my favorites.
And I had a huge argument and debate with CQ about it. Like, oh man, they're not doing all 3 Spider-Man. It would be leaked by now, or it'll be some trailers dropped because that's like too much of a money grab. When it came out and they're show all 3 Spider-Man, I was the first one.
Do you record the argument? Do you record it?
I text him like, who was right? And to this day, he won't admit it. That cocky who was right. But my point is trying to get to, there are some other movies, like for example,
Rocky.
Blade did a great job. They did the first one. Yeah, it was a big break between Blade 2 and 3.
Blade? Oh, okay.
Yeah, and 3, and they ended right there. Boom, that's it. They showed him. The question is, did he really die or he's still alive? That is the question of the end of the movie. It was kind of left with a question mark, and I was okay with that. But Avengers, a great example. All the Avengers movies. I think they dragged the Avengers way too far.
I think the Avengers are okay, but I don't think it was good or bad.
Rocky, so the first Avengers, I liked a lot. I think they killed the first Avengers. The second one was pretty decent. The third, so. Then it kind of got stale for me a little bit, but Endgame really made it up for me.
Now,
I'm like, now I'm okay with how they ended it like that. I am
uh,
very okay. I wish they passed on the torch with Captain America a little bit different, like the comic books did. But I know it's not exactly to the T before Paul freaks out on me. But I'm happy how the series is. Now, the new Avengers, the question is, they're starting a different team now. Are they going to do the new Avengers series or different? Because we don't know too much. Another one that I think they did, in my opinion, I liked it, but a lot of people did not like it, was Fantastic Four. Like the first two movies, I actually enjoyed them, but I know it wasn't to the T to the comic books. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
Now the reboot was horrible. I thought. Now the new one is coming out soon. That is a question I'm debating how that's going to be.
now Eric throw in a movie that is not really a trilogy, Rocky. It was no different from the other side with this Rambo. That two side of the coin. Rocky had 4 to 5 movies or more. Rambo
Yes,
had 4 to 5.
here's the different about Rocky. I'm gonna give him a pass on this one a little bit. I'll explain. No, hear me out. Why? So the first 3 did the first 4 did really well. The 5th one with Tommy Gunn, I think that was he even said it killed him in the box office. He knew that was a horrible movie. So after that, he went into the crease, him coming back in Rocky Balboa. Liked it actually overall. I liked it.
I think Creed is a good trilogy.
I'm getting to that. Creed was supposed to be patching the torch to the new kid. That was the point from it originally. Originally, he wanted to kill himself off, but everybody said it was like, no, don't do that. So the way the third one, he never showed his face. They should have showed away himself, and maybe get an argument or disagreement, or even I'll be okay if he died. To be honest with you, I'll be more okay. What's your guys' opinion on that?
Rocky, the first 3 Rocky was iconic to a degree.
Yeah.
When they brought in Rocky 4, I was trying to see what angle they were going. But I had to give the team that owned the IP on Rocky and the production studio, whereby they took a storyline from there and brought it back later on into the Creed franchise, which was kind of iconic in the way they twisted it, but it was worth it. But I can't call it a trilogy when you went up to 5 movies. So the question is, who made the choice to drag it out? Was it Sylvester Stallone or was the team that said, "Oh, let's bring another movie out of it"? But the same actor who did Rambo did the same exact thing. So I'd say 2 sides of the coin.
But Rambo ended with the last one. They see that's another debate. They're saying people, did he really die or he didn't? Because he's in his rocket chair rocking back and forth, but they didn't show him actually dying off. I personally think he died in that one. That's how I take it.
Okay. Could we put John Wick in that category, even though it wasn't a trilogy with actually 4, but it's almost made it to that category to make it a good trilogy? Because you know there was 4 John Wick instead of 3.
What do you mean?
John Wick the movie. There's 4. When we did the 3rd one, I thought that would probably be the last. That would be the end of the trilogy, but it was so good they ended up being the 4th movie. Now, is it safe to say they can fall in the trilogy category or not? Actually, I'm throwing it out there to see.
I think 4 it was perfect with the way they ended it.
Okay.
Because the rumor was supposed to he's still alive. They're making a 5th one. If they bring him back in life, I'm going to say, what the fuck, man? I'm going to be like, what is this guy, fucking Jesus? I know tonight he's supposed to, Jesus is supposed to redirect it. If they drop a trailer tonight, I'm like, no way. This is bullshit. You kind of think. But no, on all truth aside, from what I'm reading online and everything I heard, they're not talking about doing a 5th one. The actor he doesn't need interest in doing a 5th one. He's done at this point. He's good. He's ready to walk away from the character. Matrix, that's a better example. Like,
they dragged it.
3 was a good cutoff. I think they should. The 4th one, I'm like, when I was watching that, I literally fell asleep.
Here's
That's
the
how bad it
problem.
was.
With The Matrix, it deserved the criticism. I'm glad we haven't talked on that movie yet because the first movie was all right. Second and
I
third,
enjoyed it.
no, first, second, and third, when you look at it, they were stretching. And the reason why I say they were stretching, you need to understand the timeline. The Matrix had a heavy competition. And guess who were beating them up in the award? Guess what movie was that? They were losers, 2 in the award. The whole 3 times they came out. Want to know what it is? Lord of the Rings. They were stretching the second one and the third one in competition with Lord of the Rings. And they lost all 3 battles on that one.
I have a hard time comparing those 2 battles together because they're 2 different worlds.
It was 2 different worlds. Totally correct. But also find out for Matrix 2 and 3, they want to get a particular actor. The actor said, you don't need me, you got somebody else. So there's a conflict going on, so to speak.
I'll give you that.
So yes, the media made it seem like there was a battle between Lord of the Rings and the Matrix. And every award time when both the movie came head to head, the Matrix lost to Lord of the Rings. That's how I look at it. But when about the fourth one, I'm trying to figure out, were you trying to repair whatever was done from the last 2 and make it seem more justified that the fourth one was needed? That's a question to be asked. I feel like I had to watch the whole 4 series and make sense of it and see if it connect well or was it worth it. Like you just drag it out even more. Because there's some movies, they actually drag it out for too long just to, I want to say, get more cash out of people. And lack certain creativity in it.
Matrix 4 was a cash grab. They were trying to drag it on. I'll give you that.
Okay.
That I'm not going to push back one bit. You can tell. And it makes me wonder if Reeves really wanted to do that movie. It didn't look like his heart was in it.
Oh, Mr. Bennett, tell me if I'm wrong, because you have a good eye when it comes to detail and you pay close attention to storyline. When something doesn't add up, you have to look at it like, is it really worth it to push this one out?
I'm sorry, for which film is this?
Matrix.
Honestly, I lost interest in it after the second one. I don't even think I saw the third. So I kind of fell out with the.
See?
I kind of fell out with that one. Yeah.
They were stretching the second one. A lot of people were talking about that. They're like, it feels weird. Like it's like they're stretching or they're overreaching. That's why I said the American industry have been given a path to make crappy movies and make money. Pirate of the Caribbean. Ooh, that's
another one. It should listen. If that one, it was the other 2 movies were wrote a little different. I will give them a little credit, but the way they wrote it, I didn't like it. Like you were missing half the main characters. But I'm going to mention two movies in my 2 series that I think would be great and awesome. Number 1, Back to the Future. They did it perfectly, I think. It's a classic. And if I see Q, he will rage on that movie because that's one of his favorite movies.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give it that.
So,
it was pretty good. It was pretty good.
I'll give it that. Yeah.
The second one I will mention, I liked the Dark Knight series. I thought that was a great trilogy.
Yeah.
Now I would say okay because the first 2 was good. The third one, I felt as if there was something doing with the budget or how they created different things they were having because what has it, the ending wasn't going to be that way. There was a conflict of interest and debate between the production studio and the higher up. They were forced to make that ending the way they was. I didn't think it should have been that way, but it was all right. But either way, it ended up pretty okay to the degree, but it could have been done better.
Right. Hang on, but I want to ask you guys. I started with this. I don't think we kind of flushed this out. How do you measure? So I already set the criteria. If you create a 4th movie within a certain time frame, it's not a trilogy anymore. You take it out of the trilogy category. If a 4th film comes too early, trying to continue the story.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned Back in the Future and
right,
and
correct,
Batman.
right. So staying within that space.
Yeah.
Again, how do we measure what's considered a great trilogy? In other words, can a great trilogy be 3 above average films or 2 great films. I mean, like top 10, and then so you give the first 2 films A plus. The third film gets a C minus or B minus. Is it still considered a great trilogy in that case, or do they all have to be great movies in and of themselves in order to make it a great trilogy? So can two movies carry a bad one, or at least one that is not? And the one I keep thinking about is the Godfather series. So again, everybody says that, you know, Godfather and Godfather. People debate that Godfather 2 might be greater than Godfather 1. I mean, so those 2 movies are like at the top of cinema history. Now, there was a big drop off. Now, honestly, I liked Godfather 3. I liked it. But you could definitely tell that it was definitely a departure from the first 2 movies. And you know, some of the acting, I know people ripped on Francis Coppola's daughter in the movie and whatnot, her acting skills and all that. I thought it was a good film. I would have gave it like a B, maybe a B minus, but I didn't think it was awful. But with the first 2 films being so great, I have to put the Godfather trilogy amongst the best of all time. So, like, again, we're talking cumulative score, 100, well, let's say 95, 98, 81, or 82.
Ooh,
So that cumulative score is still an A minus for the series.
Wow.
Or can a third movie can the first 2 still be too good to still keep that trilogy in the conversation as far as best?
Wow. You know what, Paul? You pulled a tough one. Now I gotta think about it. Like, yeah.
I have a catch-22 I want to ask you guys. Top Gun, big different spans. Now it's 2 movies. They're already talking about the third one, and if they're going to kill off Maverick or not. Hang on, David. Hang on. All right, hang on. Before you love jumping the gun, chill and just hear me out for a second.
Okay.
Do you guys think Here, I'll make you feel better. Do you guys think now with the 2 movies, and Maverick wasn't a bad fucking movie? Let's give him credit.
No, it wasn't. Visually, it was stunning. One of the most stunning films ever.
Absolutely, I'll give you that. Was it as good as the original? No, but was it up there? Yeah, I'll give him like 3 stars out of 5.
Right.
Would you consider that trilogy now?
Trilogy with what though? Trilogy in 2 films.
Yeah. Do you consider that trilogy as 2?
No, it's got to be 3 films.
Okay, I just want to clarify that. Make sure.
Yeah.
I want to see you guys' opinion on that, because some people are saying now that's a trilogy technically. Now
Wait,
I'll use Mission Impossible.
Well, how's it? Wait a minute. How's it a trilogy? I don't get it.
I don't think so. I have an argument with people like this.
But what's the argument? What's the third film?
They said they're making one, but it's not out yet.
No, okay, yeah. And again, I think there has to be. Again, I think that even though you're keeping the main character Maverick in the series, I think if you let too much time go on, like I said, that was one of the problems with Godfather 3. Right, Godfather was 1972. Godfather 3 came out in 1990. So again, you had a lot of time, even though they advanced the story to that time, it was still hard for a lot of people to accept because of the time difference. And it was, I think, out of the 3 movies, I think why it was also so different is that it dealt with a global situation. The first 2 films felt very intimate. It was about the families and the whole thing with the Italian mob. Now you're bringing multinational corporations, you're bringing the Vatican, you're bringing all this. So the story was like so big and massive. It didn't have the intimacy, I think. And I think that's why some people panned it, because, you know, it was such a different tone from the other 2 films. And so, you know, but I still think it still holds in. I think the first 2 films were so good, and you kept the core characters. I think where they really messed up with Godfather 3 had they brought back Tom Hagen. But again, I think Robert Duvall, he wanted too much money, and they wouldn't want to bring him back, which again was dumb. He should have been part of that. I think that would have made certainly a better keep that continuity going. But yeah, I still think it holds up as a trilogy, one of the best. But what I'm seeing from a lot of these movies, landing the third one. I mean, same thing with Star Wars, the original trilogy. Star Wars was groundbreaking. Empire Strikes Back, by everyone's measure, is a better movie. Return of the Jedi had a lot to live up to, which again, it was a great film. Now, is it better than Empire? Again, I think most people would say no. Is it even better than the first one? A lot of people say no, even though technically so trilogy is when you can't pick which one out of three is the best, in my opinion. That's hard, because I think with all of these trilogy movies, there's always one that's, again, the weakest. Like I said, for a lot of people, Return of the Jedi was the weakest of the original trilogy. With Godfather, clearly the third one was the weakest. With the Dark Knight series, with the Batman Begins, Dark Knight, Dark Knight Rises. I mean, people like it, but again, is it better than Dark Knight? Which I think, again, they pulled it off again in that it's hard enough to try to make the sequel better than the first film. I think Dark Knight pulled that off. I think with Empire Strikes Back pulled that off. I think Captain America Winter Soldier pulled it off.
Okay, what about Bad Boys?
Not a trilogy, right?
You got Bad Boy 1, you got Bad Boy 2, and you have Bad Boy 3. Am I correct?
No,
I thought there was a fourth one.
It's 5.
5?
5, yeah.
Hang on, I'll look it now.
I didn't realize that.
You give me a second. Look it up now.
So what that ask? I mean, I think it's a fair question. Yeah, Lethal Weapon, they definitely should have stopped. Although I love Jet Li.
It's 4. I'm sorry. It's Bad Boys 1, Bad Boys 2, Bad Boys for Life, and Bad Boys Ride or Die.
Yeah.
Okay. I made that mistake. That's my
yeah.
mistake. I wanted to.
Lethal Weapon was another. Although I must say I love Jet Li though, in the fourth one. So that you're gonna give me, and that opened up a whole new genre, because there wasn't that around the same time that what was that movie? And that was a trilogy also, which wasn't great, but oh geez, what was that? The one with Jackie Chan and the comedian. What was that? Oh geez.
It was Rush Hour. Yeah, Rush Hour. It was Rush Hour.
Rush Hour. Yeah. But that whole time, like Asian martial arts though was really becoming, because you had Sammo Hung. Remember, Sammo Hung had an American TV series during that time. You had Jet Li, who was out. You had the Rush Hour. So it was almost like Asian cinema was making its way into mainstream, and people were trying to capture almost like the 70s again, with all of the martial arts craze of the 70s. It's almost like we had a renaissance like in the early 2000s when they were trying to bring all this Hong Kong cinema stuff to American audiences.
Not only that,
again.
Paul, I feel like during the late 90s and early 2000s, a lot of trilogy movies are coming out. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. And they were going way too far with that.
I'm trying to think of another movie that must have been done well at the trilogy. I'm trying to remember. It was in the 90s to the early 2000s.
What was it about? Remember?
There's a lot of them that came out that must have slept
It
on
is
the
a
radar.
lot. It's hard to put all this together. That's the problem. You know what I'm saying?
Audience, please. I know you're watching this conversation. Throw something in there. Give us a monkey wrench if you have to.
Yeah. Back to Shiesty Avengers. Again, I would say this though, just to add a little caveat, because you make a point about all the Batman movies or what have you. I do think that certainly just like with the comic books, you may have a different writer, you may have a different director, or what have you. And I do think the Nolan series, even though you had all those Batman movies from the who was the guy from the '89 Batman on the Tim Burton, I think that's a work in and of itself. But then I think the Nolan series, I think, deserves to be classified as its own trilogy because they go total no linkage to the other movies that came before it. And I think that it stands alone as a trilogy, even though there have been several movies. But I think you have to give a director, a producer, if they go in a totally new direction. In fact, the more I think about it, I might even have to say, even with some Bond films, where you might have had a director on the helm for a series of films before. I may have to break that up now. Again, trilogy because I know Sean Connery did a bunch early on. You had George Lazenby, who did his, which I liked. I mean, one day we might want to have I don't know if you guys are huge Bond fans, but I would like to talk about On Her Majesty's Secret Service. It's actually, the more I've watched it over the years, it's become one of my favorite Bond films. But no, a lot of people pan.
What about the Friday movie? What about the Friday movie? Would that fall in that category? Like, how many Friday movies came out?
Well, yeah, Friday, next Friday, Friday after next. Wasn't there another one, or weren't they trying to get?
I'm
the
looking
group
at it right now. I'm gonna look this up, and I'm gonna let you guys take over because I gotta get going soon. There are 3 right now.
Okay,
I'm 4. I'm sorry. Friday, next Friday, Friday after next, and last Friday.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So,
sorry guys.
Get going, guys. I have to head to church.
Yep.
I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Christ has risen, and I will see you guys on Wednesday.
Thursday.
Yeah. No show. No gray area show this Sunday.
No
We're taking
gray area.
a breakout for
I'll be Thursday.
Yeah. Paul and David will be taking over. So, David, don't do anything I will strangle you for. I know you. Paul, please keep him in check. All right, guys. As always, I'll see you guys later.
This is Sparta!
Now, I'm glad that we're being mentioned. Chaiti said, I gave Stanley an uppercut. He didn't have to keep remaking Spider-Man. This is something I was trying to point out about the trilogy. Yes, you made first one. Then you did a reboot. Made 3 of those and make another. It's like that kind of confusing on that part.
Mm-hmm. I don't ever get Stan Lee. I mean,
I had to agree because.
Yeah, but you think Stan Lee's responsible for that? I just think that at that point,
it wasn't him because he gave the franchise to Disney.
Well, Sony had it first, right?
Sony had it first.
Sony had it first, and then Disney, they went into a deal for the MCU. And now I think Sony owns the rights again. So, I think that's above his grade. I don't even think, in fact, yeah, because Disney owns Marvel now, right? So he basically, it got to a point where Stan Lee was basically just a figurehead. He made his cameos in the movies and whatnot, and that was it. So I think he had very little creative control over the property. And that took place a long time ago once he kind of sold Marvel off.
Okay,
so I can't. I'm only going to give him so much.
What about Thor? How we put that one in the mix?
Not a great set of films. I mean, the first Thor. Put it this way: in the MCU, Thor, the original Thor, is the best film of the franchise, and the ones got worse after that. So again, going back to what Shiesty was saying. Going to what Shiesty said earlier, I think a good trilogy, you got to at least land 2 out of the 3.
Bingo.
You can't have one, and then the ones that come after that are just awful or just a lower grade. It can't.
Ladies and gentlemen,
you can't just go off the cliff.
That's the rule going forward.
It can't be though. See, that's too strict. That is too strict. You saying you can't decide out of the 3? Because again, that is incredibly hard. I mean, I'm like I said earlier, it's not like I didn't like Godfather 3. I like Godfather 3. I just didn't think it was on the level of the 3. So to me, it's not an argument as to which of the Godfathers are the best movies. But to really get me to think about which films were better, I got to go with the Star Wars original trilogy. Because again, each movie, I mean, like I said, it was like they were different but good in their own way. Empire Strikes Back, again, a grittier, darker tone film. But Jedi had, I mean, the special effects, the the closing of the story, and it was in that movie where you realize what Star Wars was about. It wasn't about Luke Skywalker. It was about Anakin Skywalker. It was about the redemption arc of Anakin Skywalker. And so so again, I like the Star Wars movies for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't go back on the original, even though the special effects were worse, but it was so groundbreaking at the time that it's going to be hard to knock it off that perch. So again, but there's very few movies that are going to be in that category where each movie was good. You look at the Jaws movies. Actually, there's 4 of those, so I can't even count that anymore. There was 4 Jaws movies.
Bingo.
But again, after the first one, the second one was okay. The third one was awful, and then the fourth one wasn't even worth making. Again, that was a money grab as well. Why they even go on?
What about Jurassic Park?
See, now that to me, that's 2 different sequels, right? You have Jurassic Park and you have Jurassic World. Now, overall, I would say this. Obviously, Jurassic Park, again, another one of those groundbreaking. It was like Star Wars when it came out. It was the mania around that, the groundbreaking special effects, and that it just just took the whole world by storm. But 2 was not as good as the first one, and 3 was not as good as the second one. But now with Jurassic World, I think they're kind of all on sort of even keel. I don't think any one of the Jurassic World movies is as good as the original Jurassic Park movie. But I would say, yeah, they're kind of even. So maybe I might put that into that category that Shiesty was talking about. You don't know which one was better than the other one, but certainly that one I think has a bit more level across the movies. Even though I don't think the 3 movies were as good as the original Jurassic Park. But again, the Jurassic Park movies, it was like a cliff they kind of went off of. It was like a downward spiral.
The Predator movie. Right now, I want to Google it right now because you got me thinking about a lot of things. Predator movie.
Well, no, I mean, to me, I wouldn't even consider that Predator and Predator 2 with Danny Glover. I mean, it was such, and again, I don't know how you. And then they did that cross. To me, it gets a little confusing because then they did the Alien crossover, right? So again, I don't know how tight a trilogy that is. I think it's just a continuation, but I wouldn't necessarily call that a trilogy. Predator and Predator 2, they were kind of that, but again, you had such different characters in the thing. It was almost like, it's kind of hard that now if Arnold came back and did a sequel to Predator, then I definitely would have been interested in that. And I'm kind of surprised that he didn't. Because of that.
I had to Google Trilogy movie, and there are a few that we didn't mention. I know you mentioned Lord of the Rings, and there was also The Hobbit. They were both great Trilogy movies, both of them. What about Venom?
No, I didn't even love the first Venom that much, so I can't. The one with Carnage. I mean, it was okay. In fact, I saw it again the other night. I wasn't impressed with it. But let me throw a classic at you though. All right.
Go ahead.
The Road Warrior, Mad Max Road Warrior series. So you had Mad Max.
Okay, that was
the Road Warrior, and then Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
That was a good classic. I will agree with you on that part. Let me see. Now we might end up having an argument in some movies here. War of the Planet of Apes.
Was it? What's that?
War Planet of Apes. No, the Planet of Apes series.
No, there was 5 movies.
No, were there 5?
You talking about the original one?
Hold on, talk about the. Now you got me. Gotta look up because.
Or the new one. You talking about the new one, or you talking about the original?
The new one.
No, that was 4 movies. At least 4.
You sure?
Yeah. There's Planet of the Apes, War for the Planet of the Apes, and the one that came out last year.
Okay, I need to check this out. Now, audience, you got to help out too. You got to help out because y'all in this argument too with us. Ain't no capping out of here. I got to see how many Planet of the Apes movie are there because there's Wolverine. Wolverine had a trilogy, right?
Yeah. Now what did you? Now, okay. So that I was definitely gonna raise that as a topic to talk about, and I also want to talk about the original X-Men trilogy. So X-Men, X2, X-Men United, and X-Men Last Stand. So let's talk about let's talk about those. Now, I liked overall. I thought the Wolverine series was very good. I thought the first X-Men Origins Wolverine, it was very spotty.
Spotty?
However, the high points that it hit are amongst the best in the comic universe. The setup scene in the beginning with I like the direction when they went in. Again, even though it was a major departure from the comics. So again, I know a lot of the comic heads and everybody's going to be upset because it goes from canon. I get that. But I loved the storyline of basically Wolverine, of Logan and Sabretooth being brothers. I love that. And the opening sequence of the film is one of my favorites in history. That footage of them going through the wars from the Civil War to World War I, World War II, Vietnam, the best ever. The transformation sequence where he's given the adamantium, amongst the best ever. I even liked the characterization of Sabretooth in the movie. There were a lot of things that I liked. Obviously, Deadpool I didn't like at all. I didn't like how they did the Blob. I didn't like, there was a lot of things I did not like. It was a frustrating film. But now, the second one, the Wolverine, great movie. And then I like Logan. Again, even though it was a melancholy film, I thought, again, that's the closure. You had 3 movies and it had a closure at the end. I loved how they kind of put it together. Now, again, a lot of people, again, were kind of iffy on the third one as well. And definitely people weren't feeling the first one. But again, there were too many high points that they landed and nailed in the first one that you can say, yeah, you may give the movie a C plus or whatever, but I'm taking a C plus in that. I'm like, okay. You got too much. That's like a professor grading your paper. It's like, look, you're wrong on these points, but you landed these other ones, so I'm gonna still give you a B on it, even though I disagree with some of your content or whatever. I'm just saying. I mean, there were too many good points. I've watched Origins so many times, as frustrating as it might have been to watch it, but still, those high points. Even the points with Deadpool, with Wade Wilson, the scene in the beginning where he's got the katanas and they go in there with that was at the time, that was like the flyest scene of all time when he came in with the katana swords and he was doing that kind of stuff. So the Wade Wilson scene, again, another high spot. But again, it had a lot of low spots as well, but I still watch it just for the high spots.
Okay. I got another one. The Mummy.
I only saw the first one, honestly. I didn't get to see.
The Mummy Return, and the third one I had with Jet Li was the Dragon Emperor. I think that was a decent trilogy.
Yeah.
On that part. There's another one I want to throw a monkey on the chat. I'm trying to see it would be a good argument. Aliens. I will tell you the link right now in the chat. Because we need some.
Which one are you talking about? I mean, you're talking about the original 1979, 1986, and then Aliens 3.
Yeah, I think you got a point on that part.
Yeah, but then you had all these. I think you had another. Let me see the Alien franchise. How many were there? And now you have the Prometheus series. So you had 3 of those, right?
That'll be true. Give me a second. Hold on. Because here's the thing. This is a very unique argument. I've been seeing that a lot. Let me see if I can send Wally the link. Give me a second. Sorry, guys. But I was having some issues on the main PC, so I gotta send them to another area.
Oh, you need the link? Hang on. I think I sent it. Hang on. 'Cause I just
Am I
sent it
to him?
I just sent the link to myself a minute ago. Let me just
Because I'm having some issue on the main PC side, but I'm gonna see if I can do
Yep. All right. I'll drop the link in a minute. Just give me a sec.
Thanks so much. Because I have a lot of argument on these Trilogy standards. I'm trying to see if it.
All right. I'm gonna drop it in the private chat, and then you put it in the main. I hope that works.
Yeah, this PT is giving me problems. I have to bounce on the second one. Copy the link. Give me a second. Sorry, guys. I didn't remember this one of those issues I hate going through. It can get real confusing.
Actually, try this one instead. Try this one. Yeah.
No, don't worry. I'm gonna do it on. I'm gonna do it on the other laptop.
Okay.
I want to get other people on the conversation who are movie buff.
Yeah. I dropped it in the ghost chat. Yeah, we're good.
I need real movie buff people come in here and give me a good. Oh, thank you. This one is from Inferno. Was it like the Da Vinci Code series?
Then I didn't see that. I didn't see that series, so I can't.
You didn't?
No, I said I didn't see the Da Vinci Code movie, so I can't.
Oh,
speak to it.
wow.
Put another movie on my list. I need to see.
Oh God. Mr. B, you're hurting my feelings.
No, what happened? What I do?
I would think you watched the Da Vinci Code.
I did not watch.
Why?
You guys be having some standards. Like I got all the time in the world, man.
You got a wife.
That is true.
Good time to go out on movie night.
Right.
Yeah, I don't like you shouting that one.
Now here's two more within the MCU space. All right, I consider two trilogies in the MCU space. Iron Man. So you had Iron Man 2 and 3, which again, I think it was a downward spiral. I think the first Iron Man saved the MCU. Saved it. And then you figure, hang on, let me just drop it in the YouTube chat. Hang on.
Yeah, I'm trying to do it right now because my main PT giving me some headache right now.
All right, just give me a second, guys.
Let's see. Hold on. This sucks. You have these issues these days. Link. I pasted it in his Instagram.
All right, I just dropped the link in the and certainly in the YouTube chat, so you guys can certainly join the conversation. If you guys want to hop up, while you should be able to see it there and come up.
And forgive me, I'm having some weirdness going on my end. That's why I'm just trying.
I know, lady. I know you're not shading me for not watching. Man, what can I say? What can I say? I got limited time.
Shaishi said something about how to disqualify. You were trying to put the Fast and the Furious. They have beyond.
Yeah, I can't do it.
Cannot be.
I can't deal with
under
that.
the Charlie conversation.
I can't deal with that.
They got kicked out.
Yeah,
They're like
they went to the ridiculous. They went to the
when they
ridiculous.
came in, they said you can open the door, you can go back out. Bye. You gotta go, sir. You cannot stay in here. Guardian of the Galaxy. Was that a good trilogy or not?
Who's this now?
Guardian of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I would say that was. Yeah, I would say. Yeah, I think I say I liked those three movies. Yeah.
But they stay within the category. They have Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, and that was just it. Wally, I dropped you in your Instagram message, so you should be able to get it.
And I just dropped it in the chat again. I don't know why folks can't see it. It's in the chat again. So.
And I not seen that one either.
That's odd. You don't see it in there?
I looked in the chat, it didn't pop up in there.
That is weird. I can't drop chat here. Did you look at the private chat? I dropped it in there also.
I know you dropped in the private chat. I had to go
Nice.
to my laptop and do it again and give it to Wally
Okay.
on my end because I having some weird thing on this main feed. It sucks. Somehow I'm still able to be active on the conversation. I'm looking for another movie to throw in the argument.
No, but you didn't. Hang on, you didn't summarize the ones I said. I said the first one was the Iron Man. Second one was the Captain America series. So you had
Iron Man-
Captain America: First Avengers. You had Captain America: Winter Soldier, and you had Captain America: Civil War.
Captain America was done. I hate to say that it may sound biased. Captain America and Trilogy was done better than all the other Marvel movies, in a way. Especially even you have the Winter Soldier in play. But there's a very unique story between Captain America and Winter Soldier. They didn't do it like they did all the other character movies, like Iron Man, like Thor, like Spider-Man. It was done justice, so I would say it pretty much it's a decent, good trilogy. I'll give you that. The only you mentioned was what?
Well, I said the Iron Man from the MCU. I said Iron Man, and I said Captain America.
Iron Man 1 had me put a question.
Iron Man 1 saved the MCU. Without Iron Man 1, there'd be no because the Hulk movies, the first Hulk movie failed, and there was really everything was really riding on the
And
Iron
I give
Man.
you that. Here the problem I had with Iron Man was it might be a debate to ask. When they did the first Iron Man movie, the guy who was Tony Stark's partner, when they replaced the actor with somebody else, it got me wondering why would you do such a thing? And trying to find out, what's his name again? He came on the podcast, on our radio talk to our podcast, saying why he's supposed to be the main box office with this, that, and Robert Downey Jr. did so well. They decided to go with him and got rid of him and played Don Chillian. What's his name again? Terrence Howard. When Terrence Howard did the Iron Man movie, the first one, I felt that he could have done the War Machine better than Don Chillian. But when they replaced them and have Don Chillian and kind of like,
Yeah, I forgot all about Terrence Howard. I think Cheeto.
I didn't forget it because first and foremost, when you look at the comic book, the character who took over at War Machine, he was a bulky kind of fella. Terrence Howard could have bulked up a bit and would have fit the criteria, but when he had the military uniform on, he fit the mold for that. It was not going to be a problem, but when you replaced him and got Don Chillian, I got nothing against Don Chillian, but he didn't seem to me like War Machine kind of guy. So it kind of like threw me off a bit. So I would say the Iron Man trilogy is the okay kind of thing. But Shaiti was correct. It wasn't Iron Man that saved the MCU with actually Blade. Blade made the money for them to make this MCU. Because they did the numbers. And that is correct. I was looking at the planet of the Apes. There was Rise of the Planet of the Apes. There was Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And there was Dawn on the Planet of the Apes. So there's actually 3 Planet of the Apes movies. So that's a trilogy too as well. The newer one, not the old one.
You said Blade saved the MCU? When was Blade ever in the MCU?
No, the first Blade movie. The second one, the money they made off of those 2 movies. It was.
Oh, you're saying it? Oh, okay.
The money they made off those 2 movies was a lot of to produce all the other movies, but they never gave Blade movie the credit due for the amount of money they brought in the box office. That's the technical aspect. Even the guy who produced the Black Panther movie, he called it out. It's funny how they didn't give Blade a credit where credit due, but when the Black Panther movie came out, the Black Panther movie made a whole lot of money. Did it not?
Yeah, I'm sure. Over $1 billion, yeah.
Okay, then. So the new Planet of the Apes, they have 3. That's a good trilogy. So that is Wally. He coming in hot. I hope you have your debate ready, your note ready. I can't put Godzilla in the mix because Godzilla had 4 movies.
Correct. Yeah, the MonsterVerse I wouldn't put in there.
There was, but the last one was like a collaboration. You got Godzilla, King of the Monsters. You got Godzilla vs Kong, Godzilla
And then Godzilla X Kong.
pretty much. I cannot put Underworld. Underworld. That's 5 movie that killed it. Let's see. Come on, Wally. Can't be us burning up.
Wally, are you there?
What about the board? The board like no.
Yes, I'm here, and I must say, I'm gonna take y'all tech jobs. Y'all insane. Sending the damn link. Like, come on.
First of all, look, I did my best. I don't have those accesses yet. So they're still working on my security clearance. So Dave is running the show here.
Like, just copy it and then just send it in IG.
I'm running the show. I know, but
I mean, as far as the chat part, I understand that part. That's besides that. But okay. Let me stop. Okay. But yeah. So how much of these movies have y'all named so far? So that I get a good track.
we name a good couple. We name a good couple. Trust me. I cannot mention the Transformer. Transformer would suck. So I don't know. Lord of the Rings would consider to be a good trilogy, but Eric said that's totally unfair, so we got to move that one out. Da Vinci series, the Da Vinci Code, Inferno, and Angel and Demon. That's part of this series. That's a pretty good movie trilogy. I'm trying to think of one. We mentioned John Wick could have been, but it could not be. But based on what let me see. Based on what Shaiti Avenger said, a trilogy had to be a trilogy whereby 3 of the movie is hard to pick which one the best out of 3, but they all were good. But Paul Bennett also said if 2 movies hit it off real good and they both category for the 3rd one, that also considered to be a good trilogy.
Yeah, if you want to talk about like a cumulative score, you can still get an A with one of the movies kind of falling off a little bit. So that's kind of how I look at it too. Because to land 3 movies in each movie is equally as good, I don't think that's ever been done. Like I said, I can look at the original Star Wars trilogy and be like, yeah, I mean that certainly has some points. Or I might even look at the Captain America trilogy with Winter Soldier and Civil War, and I can that's as close as it gets. While if you can name a trilogy that gets close to that, where you can't tell you're debating which movie was better out of the 3, then let me know.
So you're looking for a movie within a trilogy that would.
No, we're looking for a trilogy with the 3 movies, and again, it has to be only 3 movies. If it's a 4th movie, it's not a trilogy. So 3 movies where each movie is equally good.
Equal. So that means the moment one's 10, the other one got to be 10. The other one got to be 10.
At least according to Sheisty's criteria, it's like you can't. Where you're debating which movie was the better out of the 3, and I'm saying that's tough. You're good most of the time. You're going to land 2 out of 3.
Well, yeah, but we're also looking at bad versus good. So it's like, does it really, like, if we're throwing one out, it's like, all right, well, you're just analyzing, was that really a perfect one? Was it really a good one? Where does it stand as an entire trilogy? But okay, whatever. I mean, for me, honestly, there is none that really hits those spots because it all really depends. Hold on, let me see. Because as far as this conversation, I did have one of the main picks that I hope I didn't name yet, but even if you did, it is what it is. But I do not know how that lines up as far as the how you guys visualize that in the movie section. Okay, hold on.
What movie would that be?
Hold on. Cause I gotta look at its score. I gotta look at it to see its score. Cause I already know most people will say one thing or the other and all this other stuff. Um, right, and then where's this one at? Okay, so I think the closest project, based upon what I'm looking at, and this is literally the one I was gonna pick anyways, based upon everyone else's ideal rating, is the closest niche. I mean, the last one to me, I already know people are gonna feel salty because of how it went down, but personally, I still believe that it was still a solid piece of work. I don't care, even though one thing was sad, but pretty much Spider-Man.
Which the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man series?
Oh, Maguire. Well, yeah, it's the only one that's a trilogy. Well, other than Tom Holland, but I'm not gonna talk about Tom Holland right now. Even though you could mention his, but still.
I didn't love 3 though. I thought
everyone
3.
Everyone I love 3. I mean, everyone's gonna say that, but I mean, for me personally, when you're talking about, I mean, again, I'm not putting in like the idea of like again, I already know Venom was very sketchy. Yeah. Look, whatever. Again, but we're talking about the overall movie. Venom, as far as that character, is not the overall thing of the movie. It's just one piece. It's like, okay, I can toss that away and be like, does it still ruins the overall movie? No. Because again, you have to think about everything that played in that movie. And personally, for me, 1, 2, 3, when you really look at it and you really break down every piece, this is actually a perfectly well done movie, start from finish. And I'm gonna argue that.
Hey guys, give me a quick second. I'm switching to my other PT. I'm gonna reboot this computer.
Actually, the link has been chat. Thank you, Lady Navoa. The link is in the chat. So again, folks who want to come up and join the conversation, it's in the chat.
I'm gonna reboot the machine real quickly. I'll come back real quickly, so don't worry about it. Yeah,
okay. All right. So you were a big fan. The Venom piece, notwithstanding, you were big on that. What was your take on the Captain America series, Civil War, and Winter Soldier?
I mean, they're good. I mean, I got nothing against it. So Captain America, as far as the movies, I mean, I know everyone will say 1 is a little bit sketchy for them, however they feel about it. I mean, I don't really, 1 is not for me the best one either. But yeah, but Winter Soldier was probably the best one for me. Civil War, that was just the climax. But as far as just that intricate piece, Winter Soldier was the best one for me. But overall, for me, because when you think about the history and focusing mainly on Captain America from the time that you start, then from now you're like, oh, you lost, but now you find Bucky again. Then from where we are now, from picking sides and how we should move forward, it's really a pick and choose because when I look at that trilogy, if you're telling me a full in story, then yeah, number 1 pretty much fell off because now it's like, well, wait a minute, because if somewhere along the lines Bucky had a fallout and fallout where, but it's never really mentioned or known, and because of that, you just oversell it into a bad visual. Because when you look at the first one, there really was no inside of Bucky, and that's why I'm like, no, you fucked this up. So yeah, that's just the thing for me. But it's like a 2 out of 3 at most. But I wouldn't call it like start to finish perfect. I wouldn't put it over Spider-Man in my opinion.
Gotcha. CBA.
Because he do got a point. Because this topic, bad trilogy versus good trilogy, it got me looking back on every movie I must have watched throughout the 80s, the 90s, early 2000s, and now. And I'm trying to figure out which one we fit as a good trilogy. The Spider-Man was more, you mentioned, to me, was more controversial. He's going back to 2 different ownership. First was Sony, then Disney, then back to Sony again. It was ridiculous, though. So you had 3 different versions of Spider-Man.
But I think he's
Thor
talking
was
about the
never-
Spider-Man within the Sony
I'm
one.
talking about
Again,
Tobey
started with
Maguire, yeah.
Tobey Maguire's trilogy.
Yeah,
is
because
basically what he's
the
talking about.
other Spider-Man, he never got a trilogy. He really got a 1 and a 2. That's it. He got a double.
Oh yeah,
And
okay.
then the cut. So he never got a trilogy. And then Tom Holland. Like I could talk about Tom Holland's, but and granted, it's nice. The only problem with I can't really say there's a problem. I just don't focus on it too much because I'm thinking from start to finish that the way how they set up the movie, it's too dang early the way they set it up, especially on the third one they did. When they had to did that climactic one. So it's like for me, I can't give it that, even though I'm not saying it wasn't bad. What I'm saying is the way you're playing it through as Spider-Man, that was way too fast. And granted, I get it. Maybe they jumped the storyline and all that, but then even then, Peter Parker is still in school and he's trying to still find his love mate with Mary Jane. You're not actually out and about going to do your own thing, living your own life yet. So you're still in that pocket. But then again, I get it. Tom Holland's Spider-Man is a different version, so you have to understand that side of the comic as well and understanding the pinpoints of those stories. So yeah. But that's why I chose Tobey Maguire because it's just more convenient and plus at the same time, like again, it's more closely connected because most people on average will say it's 7.7 and it's like 7 point something, 7.4, 7.4, and then the last one was like 6.3 as far as their overall. But for me, if I'm looking at this, because again, for me, if I'm looking at this, 1 was more higher than 7 to me, but of course that's the overall score as far for my personal. 2 was like a nicer jump upwards. 3, again, I know people hate 3 because of the Venom look. I know it's sketchy as hell. It's terrible. I get it. But that closure of Sandman, of him and Sandman, knowing that Sandman never did what he actually did, what people thought he did, right? As far as killing his uncle. And then, of course, getting your best friend to only lose your best friend, the same way same way his father went out. If you actually think about this, all 3 movies were poetry in motion. It all aligned. So again, for me personally, solid across the board in my takes. But again, as far as if I were to score it for my own self, it's still sketchy because again, I wouldn't put Spider-Man 3 that high. I would give it a solid landing of 7.
Right.
But I wouldn't go higher.
Yeah, it's hard to do a third film. In a few of these instances, you can make an argument that the second film was better. Like I think Spider-Man 2 was better than Spider-Man 1 in the Tobey Maguire series.
Right. Yeah.
So it's hard to land, or how do you top? And I think that's probably what they try to do with the movie. They try to outdo it. So you had the one main villain in as far as Dr. Octopus, and the second one, let's put 3 in the third one. So it was like, we got, if I think they focused too much on trying to outdo the other movies rather than how can we tell a cogent story that lands the plane in this loop, because you get also by the time you get to the third film, the actors who are in it are generally they're stepping off. The only guys are different, like it's in the James Bond series, you might do 4 or 5 movies before you step off. But eventually they age out, and especially if you're going to have like a quote unquote teenage or young Peter Parker. Yeah, I mean, even Tobey Maguire was a little long in the tooth when he played him initially. So it's hard to keep that youth factor when the guy on screen looks like he's 40 years old. So I mean, it's
that's true. I mean,
because you're doing this like over 5-6 years sometimes these film franchises.
Right, but even like again, because even to another part of why I chose Tobey overall, right? Again, like. Because even if the second version of Spider-Man among Sony's projects were to quote-unquote have a third one, that was already destroyed the moment that they welcomed their version of the Green Goblin. That was a travesty.
Yeah.
But then again, it's like, again, I can't blame it because, again, that's just one. But even then, that one, you didn't have Harry Osborn be the Green Goblin. You had the son be from that. So it's like, okay. But again, different storyline. But Electro, definitely perfect. I like Electro. That was nice. But yeah. But the thing is, like I said, I go back to the main one, Tobey Maguire, because again, he was one of the added saviors of it because I know we were talking about earlier. I know there was a mention of who saved Marvel. I know you mentioned Iron Man. Most people would say Blade. And everybody else, pick and choose as far as coming after the main projects. So
I said not more. I said the MCU.
Oh, you said
Marvel.
the MCU. Oh, you said the MCU.
Right, and by Blade. So I was saying Blade wasn't part of the MCU, but if you want to say, okay, we say Marvel, and therefore we say Marvel, and then therefore you say the MCU. But I was thinking just in general because I know they tried with the 2003 Incredible Hulk. Then they had the 2008 Incredible Hulk movie, and that was that was mixed reviews on that one, but it was like really Iron Man was like the that kind of leveled the the ship there.
So
what about the Board Identity?
Huh?
See, I only saw a couple of those. I mean, I hear it was great. I hear the books were great and whatnot. I just didn't have time to really. Yeah.
The Board Identity. You had the Board Identity, the Board Ultimatum, and
sorry, I didn't know those. I didn't see those. But real quick, let me. I want to answer a question. A statement from Marcus, right? Because he said he wondered what would happen if the Amazing Spider-Man would have had got a third. Because if you remember towards the end, which this is the sadness of it all, because they sort of showed what was supposed to be the third. They were supposed to enter the Sinister Six play, because if you saw the suits towards the end, that was literally going to be the next play. Correct. And so that would have been big on the Amazing Spider-Man part to see the Sinister Six come into play. The only thing is, it's sort of like a damper because it's like, well, damn, you sort of rushed that. It's like y'all just make a group out of thin air, and it's like, okay, go against Spider-Man. Like what? Okay, but nonetheless, that's what it would have gone. But it was too sketchy. You gave a robotic suited rhino suit. Like how the you expect Peter to go against that? Like literally, like no. No, yeah. So that's tough. But nonetheless, I still it would have been that, and it probably would have been decent action. So I'm cool with that. But just like the first one was a little tough. I wish they did a little bit better on the Green Goblin. Personally, they sort of just did the same thing with Tobey Maguire, but just with a little sketchiness, and it was like no, that was horrible. What
about this one? The Hunter game.
Hunger Games?
Hunter game, yeah. Well, would that be because of the good trilogies?
Hunter Games got multiple trilogies, so no, that's not a trilogy.
Oh yeah.
It got multiple movies. It's too much history in there.
Right.
Yeah, too much history. But if you were just talk about just focusing on the first three, let's like you just cut the first up to the first three. I would then sit here and tell you, Hunger Games actually, truthfully, Hunger Games is actually pretty nice. I would give it a nod. I would actually give it a nod. Because if you understand the history of Hunger Games and where that's coming from and all that, then you know what I'm talking about. And then, of course, you add how it was being done. Yeah, Hunger Games was actually pretty nice. It was actually a very good project. I'll give it that.
What about the Equalizer, Denzel Washington movie?
Equalizer. Actually, I'm not gonna lie. That Poetry Motion, great series. Wait, what did you say?
The Equalizer. This is Denzel Washington.
Right, and then Mr. Bennett said what?
No, I just side. I'm sorry. That's
well, for me, I would say it's actually a solid thing because again, I look at start from finish and how it fluctually moved. It was Poetry Motion. If you understand from the start, then get to the end, it was Poetry Motion. That was actually well thought out. That's actually a good series. That's good. But again, it's for the first three because of course it's going to be another one. But yes, it's definitely perfect.
What about the Nadia movie? The Nadia
Chronicles of Narnia.
That had three.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I ain't gonna lie to you.
Like I said, you can get to third film worth consideration is one of the most difficult things to do in film. Trilogies are hard, to land all three or keep them up. That's why I can count on almost on one hand the ones that I think that meet the measure. Like I said, the Captain America ones do.
I'm beating up the audience to drop some nugget because they watch movie like we do.
But even then, it's like
can't be backing up on their conversation.
I'm pretty sure y'all didn't mention Blade, but I know a lot of people will say 3 was just too off, and I know people will say that.
No. Eric said the Indiana Jones trilogy is supposed to be the bar.
Huh? It's supposed to be the bar?
That would Eric. Yeah, for a good trilogy.
Honestly, again, obviously love the first, Didn't really like the second one. I think the third one was definitely a rebound. So like I said, I mean, I generally most of the time you're gonna have, like I said, 2 out of the 3 will land, and one will be sorely lacking.
Because Mr. Bennett said The Godfather. The first 2 were
like perfect, like almost like almost like perfect films. The third one, like I said, I would give, you could say Godfather an A, Godfather 2 A plus, Godfather 3 B minus. Now again, it doesn't mean that the movie itself wasn't good. Like I said, I enjoyed the film, but again, it was a market difference from the first 2 films. There was a lot of time that was elapsed from it, so it's almost hard to call it a sequel because of that time disparity between the 2 films, and it was missing some key figures that should have been there. Like I said, Robert Duvall should have been in that movie, but there was a contract dispute and he wasn't. They had to write him out.
For
of
your
it.
information, data which I Googled, they say the most successful movie trilogy based on global box office earning is the Star Wars sequel trilogy, which cost over $4.4 billion. I mean, the 3 original that Joe Lucas did.
Yeah, the original trilogy. Yeah.
Yeah. Second, that one is Lord of the Rings that did over $3 billion. But you say Lord of the Rings cannot be considered a trilogy, because it's based on a book. So I wonder what would be the standard.
Again, separate the book from the movie. I'm not going to tie a film to a movie. So again, until they decide to put Lord of the Rings back on the cutting room floor and create those other chapters or whatever they're going to do, it's a movie. It's a movie trilogy, not a book trilogy. So again, Lord of the Rings
and they did a Hobbit. 3 movies for the Hobbit. They did the same exact thing.
Yeah. How much did the Dark Knight? How much did the Dark Knight Nolan trilogy make? I'm curious.
I'm trying to Google it right now.
I don't know, but one thing I will tell you, it is one of the top superhero genre defining impacts. They said the Dark Knight trilogy is one of the top ones.
But here's the joke though. After Lord of the Rings make over $3 billion, the Hobbit trilogy made over $2.9 billion, right behind Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
So both trilogies were making bread. And they say the Spider-Man trilogy with Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire got over $2.5 billion. The original one. Then the Star Wars prequel trilogy goes over $2.5 billion.
Yeah, I'm actually I'm looking at Dark Knight now. Both Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises surpassed $1 billion, but the Batman Begins only did $372 million worldwide. So certainly it was, I guess you can call it a success, but not nearly at the $1 billion mark that the latter 2 movies, which is rare. Because again, it's usually the other way around. The first or the second movie are usually, the biggest box office, and there's always a disappointment in the third. Usually, that's why I gave credit to the Guardians of the Galaxy one, because I thought I didn't see a big drop off between those 3 movies.
Okay, that's what I'm telling everybody. Let's figure out what you can consider to be a good trilogy, what would be a bad one.
Let me see what else is there.
You got me now going into Google and see Google will tell us the truth or tell us a lie.
So you said you want to look at bad. Well, see, that's the thing. If it was bad, I'm not going to watch it. If the first film was bad, I can't go back and say.
Right, think about it, right? I think that would help you understand what differs good from great. I mean, what differs bad from great, right? Like, okay, if you know the bad ones, then you know how to separate how you get a taboo. Because again, I know a lot of people say, oh well, the third movie of Spider-Man was, or even Blade, the third one was, right? But then when you think about other movies like this, and you'd be like, you know what? You know that Blade 3 and that Spider-Man 3 looking pretty sexy right now.
And Venom had 3 movies. I've seen the first one. I'm gonna get a chance to see the second one, and then throw it already out already. So, I wonder if that'd be a good trilogy or not. And if people watch it, I agree with it. I'm right here looking at a lot of movies that Google is popping up. Saying the Planet of the Apes series has 3. The new one. Pretty
correct.
Good.
Yeah. I didn't. Some of these I didn't know was a trilogy, like Taken with Liam Neeson. Now again, everybody quotes the first one. but the latter two you don't hear a lot of buzz from. So again, a bad one's going to be again 2 out of the 3 bomb, or really don't aren't memorable. So Taken would be a case I think of a bad trilogy if you don't know necessarily what's going on with the other ones. Same thing.
I mentioned the Mummy. Yeah, the Mummy Return, and the Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. That was a decent good. The first 2 were really good. I give it that. So I think the first one we had The Rock. That came in. The second one was something else, I believe. No, was it the second one of The Rock or the first one? I can't remember. I gotta check it. It was pretty good. Alien had a trilogy.
Yeah. What you guys? Did you guys see the Prometheus set of films?
No, I didn't get a chance to.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, obviously it's a prequel of how the aliens essentially got created. So, no, it's kind of mixed on those in terms of how good it was, but that one might be one I may, like I said, I thought the first one was interesting, but then it just got weirder.
There's a movie that based on a video called Divergence. It was shown on the Sci-Fi. They had 3 movies, and I'm sure everybody watched that. That's a trilogy. Glass. The Glass has 3 movies? I'm not too sure.
Samuel Jackson? I know there were 2. And you really can't call it because the first one was Unbreakable. He was a character in the first one. So that was a Bruce Willis Unbreakable. He was Mr. Glass in that one, and then he came out with his own movie, Mr. Glass.
Makes sense.
But so I wouldn't count that as a character. I wouldn't necessarily count that as a trilogy, though.
Yeah, that makes sense. I see it. You're right. It was Unbreakable. That was back in 2000.
Yeah.
And the Glass
M. Night Shyamalan made them. Yeah.
Came out in 2019. Okay.
Yeah. They took obviously a long break from a long break from that one, but yeah, I think trying to find one where every movie lands. I just think you just take the
not going to be hard.
Yeah,
it's going to be.
But
hard.
I think overall, I would say this: the best trilogies from based on what we described. I think we can all agree that a lot of it, the key to its success is again having an intent for 3 films from the jump, because then that dictates your writing, that dictates your screenplay. You have to flesh out the characters. You have to have a definitive start and end. Because I think even with Star Wars, again, George had that kind of story arc there. He kind of fleshed some things out, as it went along. He changed some things, but he generally had the story there. You look at the Matrix movies, even though the latter ones were there, they shot some of those movies simultaneously. So again, and obviously the Lord of the Rings series, obviously you had the Tolkien novels just to sort of go off of to keep the stories tight. So I think to deliver a successful trilogy, I think you kind of have to go in with a trilogy of movies, at least in the conception. Now, again, everything's going to be contingent on how the first film did. If the first film bombs, then everybody goes home for the most part. But again, to try to create a third movie after or even a sequel after the first movie was like really successful and everyone's like, oh yeah, because again, it might have been like a one-off, we've all heard those stories about the studio. They're like, oh, we don't know if this movie's going to work or whatever. Then all of a sudden it works or whatever. Then it was like, oh, hey, the movie's great. You got to make another one. We're going to make another one. And now you didn't even think that far ahead. You were just trying to tell a story and flesh it out. So I think, for example, like the Rocky series, I think that's an example of where that's been successful. Because again, Rocky, the way Rocky barely got made. I mean, it was like really, you look at the backstory. I mean, Stallone was basically homeless, but he sold a screenplay, and he, and the condition of the screenplay said, look, if you make a movie out of it, I gotta be Rocky in the movie, and they capitulated to it, and then the rest is history after that. But I don't think he had a Rocky 2 in mind. I don't think he had a Rocky 3 with Mr. T involved, and I don't think all that stuff was. I think he kind of made it up as it went along, just trying to come up with a more compelling or more exciting story, or something cinematically that would definitely sell. But but that's you're asking a lot to try to have a continuous story arc that people will certainly appreciate and deliver quality films from start to finish. Because even on certain films, even directors change.
And I agree on that because I'm looking at this topic, and I'm thinking we might have it when this show is over. Maybe put a poll out there so we can have people to pick and choose. Like when this show is over, ladies and gentlemen, if you watch this podcast, list your favorite trilogy in the comment section. I'm hoping we can make a 3-month poll so we can figure out which movie is going to be the best or the worst. And maybe we come back with the topic and we start putting our verdict because one, Mr. Paul made a great argument. A trilogy that have at least 2 good movies that can't wait for the third one.
And I'm saying the third one can't bomb. I'm saying you can take yourself out if the movie bombs. I'm just saying it can't bomb. It just but it's okay in my view if it's just not as good as the other 2 because the bar was so high.
And you got a point. But Psych the Avenger said, and I quote, which I'm going to highlight again, so he got a valid argument on that part too, because sometimes it will be those movies that make you try to think of which one is the best. And he mentioned when you had a hard time picking out of 3, which one is the best movie out of the best 3. And he said it right here, but I'm going to show the comment. I'm just going to get it up there. When you can't
there's only a couple of those that exist.
I'm just saying, I'm taking your view, I'm taking his view. You will figure out if you get a middle point because
I mean all 3 out there. And that's again, Wally said I guess the original Spider-Man would be the closest probably in his view to all 3 films being
when you can't out of the 3 is the best in my opinion is not just wait, huh? Okay, huh?
I'm thinking about that too as well. So I'm thinking, how will we do without argument properly?
I need to look back at that comment again.
Yeah, but he's basically you're debating out of it's again.
Okay.
You can't pick which ones are the best.
You can't pick. Okay, a trilogy is when you can't pick which one out of the 3 is the best. In my opinion, it's not just about having the 3 of the same movie. Well, okay, well that's your opinion. It's not. So it's not. So like, what are we defining that again? So, okay, wait a minute. Let me try to look something up because I need something. I need a clear idea of defining because
the closest one you could give is the Godfather one because Mr. Bennett said the first 2 hit it out of the ballpark. They were like A+ movie. The third one was like a B-. So
so the average is still an A. So I can't take it out because it wasn't a D, it wasn't an F. That definitely brings the whole curve down. You know what I'm saying? But now let me ask you guys this: we haven't talked. What's that?
I mean, yes, Godfather is top tier, but that's amongst crime. Now, if someone says, "Well, this is top tier, but this is among something else," then now you're touching genre. So, I mean, again, I'm not sitting here saying like there's nothing I can really hit where amongst another movie that's equally as good as The Godfather at this moment. So I can't really say and say nothing. But
let me ask you this, you guys. I'm surprised we haven't talked about it yet. What about the DC? You had, I guess, what you consider Batman v Superman, and Justice League. Is that a trilogy? And factor also into that, if you factor in the Justice League, the original release, and the cut that came out, the director's cut that came out, over the pandemic. So does that would that if you consider that a trilogy, then and if you have problems with the first the Justice League movie, would you consider reconsider that if you put in the director's cut, which was a very different film than the theater release?
No. For me, look, when I think of the word trilogy, 1, 2, and 3, or at least, or however, the first 3 movies within that set. So no. And technically,
so what takes that out of contention for you? The fact that they had the Wonder Woman and Aquaman franchises?
Well, no, because when you said the Justice League and then you said the director cut. So again, if you're saying me the director cut, technically the final draft and then the director cut are 2 of the same. It's just the fact that what's in the director cut is a little bit different because of what the director had in it versus what they
but what I'm saying,
out.
right? But I'm saying,
So
right? I'm asking though.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't add that as a trilogy. That wouldn't be a trilogy because again, that means that what you did in the first one that you dropped, and then what you did in the director cut, that's like sitting here saying, "Oh, you just snapped your fingers and then sort of change a little bit of the skit." It's still the same movie.
I get that. We're not debating that. Yeah. I'm saying again. I said specifically. I said Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, which I would consider to be a sequel to Man of Steel, and then you had the Justice League. So could that be considered a trilogy?
So Man of Steel 1, Batman versus Superman, and then you said Justice League?
Yeah.
Honestly, no.
Okay.
And the reason why is because again, you're going from a Superman project. You're going from a Superman project, which already has other Superman projects behind that. Then you're going through Batman vs Superman, which is a collaboration project with both of them in the movie, and then you're going through where there's multiple heroes coming from their own movies coming into one movie. So no.
So then, would you consider the Captain America, for the same reason you just argued? Is that a trilogy then? So you had Captain America: First Avenger, Winter Soldier, and Endgame.
Now look,
I mean not Endgame, Civil War.
If you look at all of those, right? Captain America, the First Avenger, Captain America, Winter Soldier, Captain America. It always starts with Captain America. So I would say yes.
Because the title. So wait a minute, because the title is different. I mean, the same criteria is there. You got super teams by the time you get to the Civil War.
Right, but notice, as long as the main visual, again, when we're talking about trilogies, I'm talking about the main focus of the person. So if the main focus of the person is Captain America in all those 3 movies, then yes, that's a trilogy. Yes, you have to give it that. I'm not going to give it.
I don't know. Yeah, I think that's a trilogy in name only.
No.
All right, so David, David, I understand your argument. All right, David, you got to get in this one now.
I know.
So we're saying because the movie is named, even though everything you just described from the Justice League, the movie it fits exactly your criteria, but because there's Captain America in the name, you're saying one doesn't count.
No. Look what you just tried to do. You went from Man of Steel, then you jumped to Batman versus Superman. What are we doing? No.
Again, I'm looking at the film. I'm looking at the films. I'm looking at the film. You're concerned about the titles. I'm looking at the films.
That's what it.
No. A film is more than the title. Titles, fine. Name it something else. I'm saying.
I need a definition now. I need meaning in my life. Oh Lord, you got to bring the dictionary out. Okay, trilogy: a group of 3 relevant novels, plays, films, operas, or albums. Okay, so again, when you talk, the example of an album. When we talk about album, okay. Think about any rap music, any album. It's only 1, 2, and 3. That's a trilogy. Thank you very much. Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, and Justice League is not a trilogy. Thank you and thank you. Don't come back here with this bullshit. Don't do that. Don't do that. Especially when you do Man of Steel.
Look at the films side by side. Get to the films side by side, and they're essentially the same type of film. They are. Because again, in the Captain America franchise, you introduced Black Widow, who is also part of the MCU in that series, and Falcon is also introduced, and then by the time you get to Winter Soldier, you got basically super team. Same thing with the Justice League. Again, Batman v Superman is a direct trilogy because there's scenes in the second film. Wait a minute, you spun long enough. Wait a minute, let me make my point here. You made your points long enough, young man.
I'll ask you a simple question real quick.
So I'm saying there's direct scenes and footage in Batman v Superman with Batman reacting to the carnage that took place in Man of Steel.
Okay.
And then from that point on, it's about again those guys coming off. But then, how do you build a team to come against the enemies that come later on?
Okay.
It's the same story arc. You're fronting over the name.
Okay, wait. I got you. So let's remember Flash. Even if you didn't watch it, it's trash. But look, one thing I will give credit. Well, this is why I'll give Mr. Bennett credit. Because if you remember the Flash, it did told a very important storyline about the Flash when he got his powers in the moment he was in the drama of the Man of Steel. That is technically true. Yes, they are connected in that point. But again, just because you're connected in a storyline, we're talking about the main focus of the movie. I'm standing on that. I'm standing on that premise. But I do see your point, and I'll give you that credence. I will respectfully kneel.
I'm just saying, look at the films.
I'll respectfully kneel there. But
ladies and gentlemen,
main focus
there has to be a part 2 to this argument because I knew.
Wait, we haven't heard your argument yet. You're just on the sideline, just watch. He's already eating popcorn. He's eating popcorn as we go over this. You just can't get this in.
Because David's like, you know what?
How do you weigh Mr. CBN, TED Talks, aka David, aka Bear Paws, aka CBN Black David? How do you weigh in on this, sir?
In a way, it's very conflicted because concerning the DC movie or that particular franchise, it was kind of confused how to went about it. They were mix and matching. But when you mentioned that part of the Flash, I almost thought that was a child at the time. I thought it was not. For Batman movies, Batman Superman, that's a collaboration. It wasn't a just it cannot be a Justice League movie if it wasn't a Justice League movie. You say Batman versus Superman, that was a Batman versus
wait, there's one movie we forgot. Did anyone mention Rush Hour?
You mentioned Rush Hour. That's a trilogy.
All right,
that was a good trilogy.
Yes, and I would still say, and again, to me, it's a what's the proper phrasing that I want to use for this? It's a decaying trilogy, meaning that the first one was better than the second, and the second was better than the third. So again, it's like this. Some trilogies have some trilogies have a good start, a bad middle, and a bad finish. Some, like The Godfather, have 2 great starts and a bad finish. Some have a bad start, but somehow get green-lighted and have a good finish.
Right.
So again, but Rush, to me, a part of a bad trilogy, in my definition, is one that has each iteration is worse than the last. I would even put even as a series, the Fast franchise. I think every film gets gets worse after the next because it's just the level of ridiculousness that it gets to. I'm like no.
So, all right. So from that,
Twilight. Did Twilight have? I thought had 4 movies. Twilight. How many movies did Twilight have?
Probably has 4, if I'm not mistaken. But but even if you were to look at the first 3, then you can just judge off that. But even then,
and I mentioned the Hunger Game, but I think Hunger Game have more than 3 movies, right?
Well, yeah, but that's why I told you if you focus on the first 3 alone, I would just say they're still great. But going back, because I know you said 1, then 2, then 3. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. Maybe because it's just my personal choice, but I say 2, then 1, then 3.
For what? Rush Hour?
Yes.
So 2.
You like Rush Hour 2 better than Rush Hour 1?
Yeah. Here's the reason. Here's my reason why.
Is here. Mandrell.
One was like a nice start to a perfectly good relationship between the two, but 2 was like, okay, now we're getting in deep a little bit, and then 3 was just the precursor.
Mandrell,
I wonder how much Mandrell's heard that he's about to say blasphemy and treason.
I haven't heard much. What trilogy are you talking about?
Oh man. Okay, so we're talking about bad trilogy versus good trilogies. We're mostly making the good ones because one of our one of our subscribers was talking about some of the good ones, and we were just naming some of the good ones, and then eventually we were sort of like trying to pinpoint a solidary trilogy overall as far as criteria.
Yeah, that's cool, Wally. And not to be rude or anything, but I thought the topic was movies, you know. So I just came here and to tell you that if you haven't seen Sinners yet, okay, that's a crime. You should be sentenced to death. It is just like a movie. It really is. It is by far and away the best film I've seen, probably in the last 15 years.
Yeah, what film? Wait a minute. What film is that? You're kind of low.
It's called Sinners.
What?
Sinners.
Sinners. Oh, okay. Yeah, it just dropped, right? Ryan Coogler, right?
Ryan Coogler. Yeah, this is by far and away, by leaps and bounds, his finest work ever. Like, I think this is going to be his magnum opus. I don't think, like, how do you top this? I really don't understand. Like, how do you top this? You don't. If you do, I'll be amazed. But yeah, this is a trilogy all in one because there's like 4 or 5 different movies going on at one time, but it works together so seamlessly, you don't notice, and it all fits. There's a musical, there's a fucking horror movie, there's action, there's fucking gangster stuff going on, there's prohibition, there's, you know, Jim Crow stuff, and it all fits. Like, this is a $90 million budget film, Mr. Bennett, and it showed on screen. It is so, the attention to detail is so meticulous. Like, I mean, like, from the costumes to the people, like, there are a ton of extras in this film, so the world feels lived in. Like, you know, we're talking about trilogies here, I mean, but there are trilogies where there are like 10 people in all 3 of the movies. You know what I'm saying? There's something out there like that, but.
Well, Mandrell, in your own honest opinion, what would you consider to be a good trilogy? What would you consider to be a bad trilogy? Because we have different point of view. I mean, a little bit conflicting here, and I know it might need a.
Oh, I was about to give you the breakdown, but you know, Mandrell, brace us for this presence.
So I had to get that out.
Get him in there. Get him in there.
I had to get it out first because it's a movie that I think Mr. Bennett would really enjoy. Like, for real. All kidding aside, my wife and I went to see it last night, and we wanted to see it again today, but all the matinees were, all the shows sold out. Right? But then we look into tomorrow, all the matinees are sold out tomorrow too. We're like, oh, I guess the word's out. But I just have to tell you guys that, like, if you're looking for cinema, that's it. That is it. Like, they took their sweet time building it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was no action like the first hour of the film. They took their sweet time building it up, doing character development, doing world building, and when you got to it, it paid off. And do not leave when the credits roll. There's a mid-credit scene that is so important that it ties back into something else that happened. Like, you might have a question like, hey, what happened with this person and that? Well, I didn't see them. Like, but then you watch the mid-credit scene, you're like, oh, he went back and answered that. Got it. Brilliant. It was ingenious, this film. It really is. It is such a homage to culture and music. It's more than just what you've heard about it, just monsters and vampires. It's so much more to it than that. So much more. Anyway, bad trilogies. Most trilogies, in my opinion, are bad. Most trilogies are terrible. They are. You know, it's just, it is what it is. The Star Wars trilogy, and some of the 1, 2, and 3, those are terrible films on their own. And as a trilogy, it was all right, but it wasn't good. We're just happy to see our favorite cartoon heroes come on screen and swing laser swords at each other. That's what we want to see. But then look what they do with Vader. He's supposed to be like the ultimate badass, but I mean, was he though? Anyway.
Okay, so Mandrell, so the question on the table is, what's a good trilogy? What's a bad one? So do you have one of each that you can go to? Now again, we're defining trilogy very strict here. If it has another film, it's not a trilogy. So you can't take a bunch of films and take the best 3 out of that and make it a trilogy. Trilogy kind of has to have an opening, a middle, and a close.
He's saying
so you gotta have.
I said it disqualified.
It's disqualified because 4 movies, right?
Well,
so again, you can't Yeah, you can't say not including 4. That does not count, Marcus. I'm sorry, you're disqualified. So we're talking about movies where there's 3. There's 3 movies.
Yeah. No, because if you notice, remember what I said back in the definition: a group of 3 related novels, plays, films, operas, and albums. So again, if you just
repeat it again. Novel, play. You said it again.
I said a group of 3 related novels, plays, films, operas, and albums. So again, if you just group the first 3, that's what you can grade on. The first 3.
Based on that terminology, that means Lord of the Rings count and The Hobbit count.
Yeah, the first 3. The first 3. Let's use words and meaning, people. Let's use words and meaning.
The Lord of the Rings is we had too many moments that were boring. The second film, the 2 towers, I didn't care for that one. So that, but I mean, really, there aren't many good trilogies.
We're not asking for many good ones. We're asking you, Mandrell, on the show, name a good trilogy or your favorite trilogy and name a bad one.
I'll say The Hobbit is a good one.
Rename that, Marcus. Sorry, Banjo.
I knew it would be a very tough topic. I already knew this was coming.
Trilogy. The Star Wars sequel trilogy. God awful. So the good one for me is The Hobbit.
Right.
The Star Wars sequel trilogy is just terrible. Like not one of those films are good. Not one. It was just Star Wars greatest hits. You did the same thing that the other ones did. Like, there's nothing original about it. So no.
Yeah, but that it has a double negative. It was a bad trilogy, and each film was bad.
Wait, which one?
The Star Wars sequels, 7, 8, 9.
Because I ain't gonna lie, I don't know what's wrong with Mandrell's mic, but it's like I'm hearing him.
You sound like Shaquille O'Neal, Mandrell.
Oh. I have no idea why.
Oh Lord.
I have no idea why. How about now?
You know what, ladies and gentlemen, if you watch this podcast, please in the comment section. I don't care how many movies you list all the trilogy you know. Because we might have to come back and do a round 2 on this conversation.
Literally, the first 3, just do the first 3 of any particular movie. Just the first 3.
It cannot be Fast and the Furious. That is disqualified. It cannot be John Wick. How many movies are Fast and the Furious right now?
What, 8, 9?
The first 3.
No,
Remember, the first 3 that you group. The first 3. So the Fast and the Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious, and then I think it's the Tokyo Drift after. So the first 3. Now, granted, that's going to be tough though, because again, when I read you the criteria of what I found and what they graded on, they're going to tell you something else. So that's going to be something else. But yeah, it will be.
Now, Mandrell, what were your thoughts on the Captain America trilogy?
The first movie was, as a trilogy, it was fantastic. Now there you go. That's a good trilogy. The first one was just kind of okay, pretty good, you know what I mean? But the second one really stuck out. That's still probably my favorite Marvel movie today. The Winter Soldier. The third one, it's called Captain America, but it was an Avengers movie. Let's be real. But it is a Captain America film, so it counts.
All right, now Lady Nouveau mentioned Twilight. You can't mention Twilight because, again, there was 5 films, actually.
Right, but you're only just touching the first 3.
Disqualified.
No, you can't. No.
Understand the technical rules. Again, I read the definition. Understand the technical rules. Ladies and gentlemen, please use the definition term of trilogy. Use the definitional term of trilogy. Stop this. Let's act like we have some common sense in this room, goddammit. Let's act like we got some common sense in this room. The definition of trilogy: a group of 3 related novels, plays, films, operas, and albums. The first 3, ladies and gentlemen, please and thank you.
No.
Yes,
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Stay on the first
Absolutely
three.
not.
The first 3 movies, ladies and gentlemen. Stop
I
right
hope
there.
this
Stay on the
argument
first
goes
3.
Absolutely
viral
not.
so everybody
Stay on
can
the first
pick their
3.
idea of
What
a
is the
good
definition?
trilogy.
Don't
No,
let
So
these
it's
women
the
come
only
back and be
3.
like, see, these men,
It's
they don't know
it's
how
the
to
only 3, and it's got to be over a certain period of time before you can even revisit even touching the topic again. No, absolutely not.
You see this?
We now we're narrowing the we're narrowing the definition. She said 10, 3.
Watch. Women gonna come in the comment section. They're gonna be like, "See these men, they don't know how to correct this. They don't know how to criminalize, but they want to correct us." Okay,
I saw this coming because there are movies that are considered to be trilogy, and their movie cannot be considered to be trilogy. I knew there was going to be an argument about this. I was waiting for it to happen. This is why I want, after this show is over, I want everybody to bomb the comment section. Stop putting the names of movies that we can put it under the scrutiny because if we come back, we're bringing on the big movie buff. We're bringing Mandrell, we're bringing Jay Speed. He he had his hand in the movie.
Yeah, he was there.
So Jay Speed, if you're listening, we want your knowledge over here.
Keep making the same argument for the finishing trilogy. I'm gonna make the same dang argument.
Jedi Mike, bring your ass over here. We want to have the debate about the trilogy because I know we're gonna have a problem about definition.
Seriously though,
if you're a big movie buff, JT Kachi, bring your ass over here too. Angry Elf, you bring your ass over here.
That's not a reason to stay down there.
Yo, we need to clarify what is the good trilogy, what is the bad trilogy.
We've named several. Yeah, we've named several throughout. I'm just not rocking with the taking a subset of a franchise. I'm not doing that.
Again, look at the definition, sir.
I don't care what your definition is.
No,
I don't care what your definition is.
Oh, no, you're not logical, sir. You're not logical.
I don't care.
This is the problem with men. Y'all not logical. No, you're gonna be holding to contempt. This is court today.
We have to have a common set of rules that we're going by, and amongst the rules that's going on is again three movies. Three movies. 3 movies.
Exactly. The 3
because we're not even talking about you talking about opera, and we're not even talking about opera. We're not talking about books and novels tonight. This is about movie trilogies. It's 3 of them.
Movie films,
3, yes. Taken had 3 films. Yes. Taken, yes. So again, we're not going across. You going all over the place, just like a lawyer, just trying to find some loophole just to make your point to try to win your argument. No, this is the court of common sense, sir. This is the court of common sense. We're not. This is the court of common sense. You going into the Oxford. You're going into the Oxford trying to come up with some loophole to try to redefine what a trilogy is.
You go read the fine print. This is court.
Okay, yeah, see, exactly. That's what, yeah, you're in the fine print. You're in the weeds. You're like one of them wicked lawyers who goes around trying to find loopholes to throw out what everybody and their mom knows is what a trilogy is. You're trying to come with the fine print. You're trying to come with the fine print.
Come with correction. Y'all better come with correction. Y'all supposed to be men.
We need to revisit this show when there's no more holiday, there's no vacation. We bring all the big heads over here to the conversation because this right here, we cannot let this one go.
I'll just look. At least let me speak these ideal breakdown terms of what would make a great trilogy.
If you're on Twitch watching this, if you're on Kick, if you're on YouTube, whatever platform we're streaming this on, I'm sure you're thinking by now, like, what the hell is going on? We are trying to make a consensus of what is a good trilogy movie and what is a bad trilogy movie.
Right. Well,
and the thing is, you cannot have, at one point, you cannot have too many movies after number 3, like John Wick, like a couple of others out there, like the Fast and the Furious franchise. Hello. So right now, there's going to be a serious conversation to have because we need to make sense of it. The bar
right. Make sense of
to go based on might be The Godfather because that's what the iconic one. There's another one called the Indiana Jones series.
No.
Temple of Doom.
That's a U-shaped trilogy. That's a U-shaped trilogy.
Well, can I please speak on?
First one was good. Second one was blah. Third one was good.
Oh,
that's a U-shaped trilogy, man.
So can I break down these? Yeah. Let me break down these points. Yeah, I'm gonna break down these points. Hey, look, I'm not that highly praised on Indiana Jones for me personally. Like, so I'm not touching that. Like, I don't have no down or up opinion. I'm in the middle. But
I mentioned Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. They say it cannot be qualified as a trilogy because it's based off a book.
Again, the definition of trilogy. I want to hear this. I want to hear this shit. Y'all want to be unlogical and incorrect. Take your ass somewhere else. No.
And both movies made a huge chunk of money.
That is true. It ain't like, hey, not
well,
the box office.
You cannot argue.
Money. That doesn't mean
make
that it
over
ain't
$3 billion. No, Lord of the Rings make over $3 billion. The series. The Hobbit series made over $2.9 billion, and both were juggernauts.
Right. I mean, I'm surprised. No, I mean, if anyone were to mention Harry Potter, like to a degree, like you already know that's past 3. But even then, in a set of 3, you try to hit it on that. But of course, let me tell you why. Even fairly enough, let me tell you why certain movies in a set of 3 won't work anyways. And I literally checked up what would be the criteria base, right? So 1, cohesive narrative arc, right? This goes into overarching stories, logical progression, and satisfactory conclusion. This is why I technically named Spider-Man Tobey Maguire's, because from 1, 2, and 3, like I said, that's why it pretty much blend in. That's why I hit that one for me.
I give you that.
Number 2, strong character development, consistent growth, meaningful arcs, and consistent portrayal. Right. Number 3, Theodoric resentments. I'm a fudge up the word, but under this is exploring meaningful ideas, consistent exploration, and impactful messaging. Again, Spider-Man, but of course that's optional. But for Spider-Man, again, with great power comes with great responsibility. Perfect messaging. Again, take it what you want to take it. Number 4, individual film quality. Okay, you want to, right? Of course.
And that he mentioned about the youth.
Variety and evolution. So again, like Mr. Bennett pointed out, Wolverine, that's pretty much up there. You know, that's one of them. And how you take the next one. And then number 5, cumulative impact, building tension and stakes, emotional impact, and then lasting legacy. So again, to that accord. So when you think to that overall, this is why I would say Spider-Man 1 to 3, Tobey Maguire. This is why I considered that pretty much a start to finish perfect film.
We didn't.
Just back to Lady Bull's point, and I got to go, guys. And
we didn't know that. Everyone's been naming Narnia.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with all 3, and I definitely didn't see the third one, so I can't. I haven't speak. I'm only speaking on what I kind of know.
I only knew of one. I only knew the first one. I didn't know the other 3. I mean, the other 2.
Yeah, the second one. Yeah, the second one, the Aslan. Yeah, that was pretty. But the third one, I don't think got a lot of. I don't think it's got a lot of buzz with the third one. So,
but yeah,
I can't speak to that. So that's why I'm not going in.
Yeah, but pretty much based upon those numbers of criteria, those 5 criteria plus the bullet points added to those criteria, if you look at that across the board, most of the movies we named, The Godfather to a degree, other than the third one a little bit, but again, if it still cinches in, it still cinches in. Spider-Man.
Yeah. I mean the original Star Wars trilogy. You put that up there, would you?
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like when you look at everything, because Luke Skywalker going through all the phases and growth and everything. Yeah. So again, that's what defines a good trilogy overall. So, yeah.
Right now, we're about to end the show, but there won't be no show on the gray area
for the holidays, the American holidays.
For the holidays.
Yeah, but the next week, so next Sunday, the gray area will be back. That will be our call-in show. So Wally, if you want to bring this stuff up again in the gray area.
No, I ain't gonna bring it up again. Okay. We will bring it up again when we do it on the Saturday show.
So we're gonna have the show. Yeah, so we take it tomorrow off. Next week is our call-in show. So again, bring the smoke, Bring the heat. Any topics? We've been all over the place. We talked about interfaith marriages on the show. We talked about we talked about drugs. We talked about coffee. I mean, we're all over the place. We're just talking about just kind of just global issues. So certainly be sure. Last show we talked about corporal punishment. Right, that was a very controversial show because I've never used corporal punishment, and then some young people, they're like, look, get them belts lined up, and they ready to beat some booties there. So we had all that smoke as well, and we even talked about Africa. David, back in the day, pre-colonial Africans, from what I understand, didn't use corporal punishment. So that's a pre-colonial idea. So
and that is true. But
we talked about that. But again, some of these Africans be like, oh no, we got to beat that booty. So I don't know. So again, you might be yeah.
The coach has been spinning the block.
You want to talk about African history, it's better to have the African historian in the conversation because they know what happened before.
Oh, well, again, you're free to call. Again, you certainly would love to have you on if you want to, chop it up on that or any other topics.
I would try to.
And definitely go back and watch. In fact, replays. I know BMU. He actually replayed our corporal punishment show. He replayed our interfaith marriage show today.
I did it for that conversation because that was a deep. I don't think that could have ended because there's so much interlock confliction between interfaith, either from Christianity to Islam, from Islam to Buddhism, because
but it works. And in Islam, you're allowed to marry Jews and Christians in Islam. It says people of the book. That's in the Quran itself. As long as the people are of the book, meaning of the Bible, meaning Jews and Christians, you can marry them. It's not against it. They prefer that you marry a Muslim, but again, and if you marry a Christian woman, you have to allow her to practice her faith. You have to allow her to go to church and the things that she does. You have to allow that. So Islam has some rules. So we talked about that in the show. So go back and watch the interfaith marriage show. And again, any of these topics you guys want to visit, you can certainly bring it up and chop it up with us on our call-in show. Bring the smoke. We love it. And certainly look forward to having a good hangout with you guys.
We got a show on Wednesday, which is the anime show, the Faith Battleship Yamato. Me and Wally will be on it. On Thursday, we have women going after married men, unpacking their motivation. I don't know if I want to touch that topic. Saturday, we had Johnny Quest unpacking their motivation.
Oh, there's a whole lot of motivation. Just look at the big boss man with his lady assistant.
I'm not touching that. On Saturday, they're having Johnny Quest, The Legacy and Adventure of Science Fiction. That might be an interesting conversation to get into. I'm not too sure. But we will discuss with the editor of this network and see if we could do a part 2 of this show and bring all the big movie buff so we can clarify this argument, because I don't think we really got the end of this. It's a lot of, I can't say hearsay, but good compelling argument. So we need to get a consensus.
Yes, it's called take the first. Let's start with the definition of the word trilogy. That's real simple. Y'all gonna be some grown men, pick y'all big boy pants up, stop playing around. Big court to the jury. We are in court. We are in court. Let's go.
Such a lawyer. Yeah, exactly. Yes. The ambulance. This is the ambulance chaser right here. Ambulance chaser.
Yes. I got all
ambulance chaser.
Back this into reality. We're gonna step back into reality. Let's go. We're gonna logic here. We're not going outside the field.
Man.
If we're outside the field, then again, I should be able to say the first 3 Harry Potters. I should be able to say the first 3 Fast and the Furious movies. I should be able to say everything.
Oh God, I saw this coming.
Let's get out. Let's get out of here, man. Let's get out.
On that note,
this is not going anywhere.
We have our president, Mr. B. Bennett. You got Wally over here, the lawyer,
aka Thalos Fireborn. You already know what time it is. I bring heat.
Ghost Spider had to do something, and you had CBN Tecto, aka Black David, aka Paul. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a show. Please leave your comment. We need your comment on this for part 2. So we're going to call you out on your name.
It's where the conversation
let's get this thing going
Hey,
because
if I get a
I'm-
chance to
and the
stop by,
second
I'm
part-
gonna come back to this damn video reactor. This shit. I'm gonna come back to this. I be damned. I be damned. You will not hold me contested.
So I think there could be a need to come back episode for this.
Round two.
Because these two not gonna let it
Round
go.
two.
We need a judge in the middle.
Because
On that
okay,
note-
hold on. Because I know a lot of people would say this, right? Like, okay. Actually, no. Never mind. Go ahead. I about to.
Yeah,
that
we're
note-
we're never gonna get out
Oh
of
yeah,
here.
no,
man.
go. Yeah,
On
that's
that
also go
note,
ahead.
good night. We see you next time and be safe.
Yeah.
All right, we out of here.
Peace.